Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Hi, Klein. Thank you for joining me this evening.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
How's your day been?
How's there? My day's been good. The week has been long because it's spring break now, so we got 4 days off. But
Oh,
it
I
took
know.
forever to get. It took forever to get here.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Arctic. Thank you for joining us. Second coming. Thank you for joining. Lippy Chicken. Thanks. I'm glad, happy to see you. That name always cheers me up. Hey, plus ones. Um, hey, Bag. Welcome, Dexter. Reluctant. Thank you for joining us. I think that's all we got for now. But so I did a little bit. I looked into this a little bit more, and I did find a podcast that I think they did a really good job. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and play that, and then afterwards we can discuss if maybe there's something that they got wrong or something like that. But I think these girls did really good.
Was it girls or one girl? Was it one girl?
Well, in the beginning it was two. It was one talking to another girl, but
Oh,
then
you
I
probably
went.
talking about the other one. Oh, okay, no, that's not black girl going along. Okay, this must be another one. Okay, go ahead. You can play it for the name because I haven't
Okay,
heard nobody talk about it.
okay, all right. Then I'll go ahead and play that, and then we'll discuss it afterwards.
Okay, hold on.
But it's one you probably have never heard of.
No, I don't recognize the
And
name.
I had a hard time even researching it. I had to really do a deep dive into old articles to even find information about who Cheryl was before she disappeared because there was very little reporting on it. Dr. Cherryl Pearson was a confident, thriving Black woman, and she's been missing for over 20 years with very little coverage. I don't know specifically why her case isn't covered more. I certainly hope it's not because she is a woman of color, but as we know, persons of color, especially women, are often overlooked as victims when it comes to media coverage, which again harkens back to Ebony Spears. We got quite a bit of feedback from listeners that appreciated our coverage because it's just not something that you hear a lot of. So again, this is really important for me to be able to share this and share Cheryl's story in hopes that we may be able to get some answers here. It's a 20-year-old case, but I still feel like somebody knows what happened here.
Yeah, I'm really curious to hear about it because, as you said, I don't know that I've ever heard of this case.
A 37-year-old pediatrician, she's like our age, right? Like
Right.
a thriving professional.
Right. This isn't somebody who just based off the fact that she's a 37-year-old pediatrician. This doesn't sound like somebody who's high risk.
Exactly. That's exactly
So,
what I'm saying. Correct.
Yeah.
Cherryl Pearson was born August 21st, 1964, to Hazel and Leard, who goes by Leon Pearson.
I love that name, Hazel. What a pretty name.
Isn't it sweet? She was the youngest of 3 children and had an older brother and sister. She came from an accomplished and educated family as both of her parents worked as Madison County educators. Her mother was a former counselor at Southside High School, and Cheryl was always a standout. And from everything I could read, almost like the perfect daughter. She's like the one that's always just crushing it. She appeared in several articles in the Jackson Sun, being cited as participating in the Women's Legion Auxiliary, which is an organization dedicated to assisting and advocating for veterans, the military, and their families. While she attended Jackson Central Mary High School, she was also a standout on the basketball team and even attended some early college classes.
Okay.
So successful athletically, academically, socially. Cheryl also always had goals. After high school, she attended the University of Tennessee, where in 1987, she earned a degree in chemical engineering. She then went on to Meeheart Medical College in Nashville, where she graduated with her medical degree. Incredibly, Cheryl managed to accomplish all of this while also managing her health because Cheryl was a type 1 diabetic.
That's rough.
While any kind of diabetes is a challenge, type 1 diabetes is by far the hardest to handle.
Sure.
It's chronic, of course, meaning lifetime. and it prevents your pancreas from making any insulin. So this isn't something that's easy. It's 24 hours a day monitoring your blood sugar.
Which I don't know if you had gestational diabetes, but I did. And man, even just for that short period of time, less than a year of having to deal with that, it is rough. I can't imagine a lifetime of it, honestly.
Right. From when you're tiny.
Right.
It always has to be something that's on your mind.
Right.
Like that's always something you have to manage. Because of course, too much sugar in your blood can result in major health issues and even death. Now, to combat this, Cherryl had an insulin pump. Now, an insulin pump is a small wearable device that delivers insulin on a regular schedule, and it's an alternative to like multiple daily injections.
Mm-hmm.
She was also born with 6 fingers on each hand because of a condition called polydactylism.
Okay.
Polydactylism is a common condition that often runs in families.
Yep.
And the extra fingers are usually small and abnormally developed. As a matter of fact, polydactylism is one of the most common congenital hand abnormalities. And you're saying, yep. So I imagine you've probably known someone that
I
has
do.
something.
Absolutely. Yep. And
Yeah.
a simple surgery, and you would never know.
Well, and that's some of it. However, I didn't realize this either. I did a little bit more research.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's only soft tissue, which you could do the surgery.
Right.
Sometimes there's actually bone in that 6th finger as well.
Uh-huh.
So it could be a more complicated procedure.
Right.
So in Cheryl's case, again, I wasn't able to find out a lot of information. So I don't know if hers was the soft tissue. I don't know if it had bone. I don't know if it was functional.
Right.
And I only say that truly because it's an identifying characteristic of a missing person.
So she did not have
it removed.
Okay.
No.
So she lived her life with 6 fingers on each hand.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And again, it doesn't appear that it held her back in any capacity.
Well, clearly not.
Clearly not. But she did have this 6th finger on her hand.
Okay. Well, then that's a very identifiable trait.
That's kind of the reason I brought it up, because otherwise it would be a bit of a moot issue.
right.
Because obviously it didn't affect her in any way
Wow.
that I
Okay.
can tell, but it would be a distinguishing feature.
Sure.
Now, unfortunately, because of scant reporting on this case, I don't have too much more information about Cheryl's early life. But what we do know is that she was intelligent, driven, and really a positive person. After obtaining her medical degree, Cherryl moved to the Memphis area in the late 1990s and began working as a pediatrician at Les Bonheurs Children's Hospital. She also purchased a home in a quiet suburb in the city of Bartlett, Tennessee, which is just northeast of Memphis. Where we do pick up is in January of 2002, when life was really good for Cherryl. Friday, January 4th, proceeded like any other day. But Cherryl had special plans that evening. See, she was a huge basketball fan after her years of playing, and she was a loyal Memphis Grizzlies supporter. That night, she attended a Grizzlies game alone at the Memphis Pyramid. Cherryl was a season ticket holder and made it a point to attend every game that she could, which often meant that she would attend alone. So this was not unusual that she attended the game by herself.
Okay.
She normally would have the tickets. She would see if it was somebody wanted to go with her, and if not, she would just go on her own.
Gotcha.
But again, she's a confident, independent lady.
I am not weirded out at all by anyone doing anything alone. I mean, I would do any of this alone. So yeah, that's not weird at all.
Right. Me either. During the game, she had a quick call with her mother, Hazel. On the call, she mentioned she wasn't feeling quite well, like she was a little lightheaded and felt a little weak. She and Hazel both kind of chalked this up to possibly her diabetes.
Sure.
Right? Any amount of blood sugar fluctuations could certainly have caused her to feel a little off. But Cherryl told her mom, don't worry, it's under control. I'm monitoring that. And I'm sure, if I put myself in Cheryl's shoes, I would not want my mom to worry. Right?
Of course not.
So she's like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. So
but she's also a doctor. So she knows
Exactly.
how to properly monitor it. And she knows the importance of monitoring it.
Yes, absolutely. So of course, Hazel was like, oh, well, I don't love that for you, but
Right.
you got this. Like,
Of course.
she was confident that Cherryl would handle it. The game ended around 10:30. Unfortunately, the Grizzlies lost.
Oh, that's sad.
Mine, I found a different a different podcast that you may like a little bit better, because I know these girls kind of like to chitter chatter with each other a bit much, but I think I found the one that you were talking about. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. So let's try
but
that.
don't. No, I know. if you have a chance to get the strike, don't worry about it.
Well, that would have
So
been if I would have played like a YouTube one, but I think I found the podcast you were talking about that isn't on YouTube because that's what I was doing
okay,
real quick because I know that you kind of didn't like this one. So let me try this one and see if this is the one that you were talking about.
okay,
Because if they did better, we definitely need to get out as much factual information as possible
yes,
because that's our whole goal here. So let's try this
right.
one and see if this is the one that you were talking about.
Excuse me. Oh,
For your
yeah, this
next
is it.
trip,
Yeah, this is her.
the luxe upgrades you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/girlgone for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/girlgone to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/girlgone.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are.
Scene, she attended a Memphis Grizzlies game.
Hello, Dope.
On this episode of Black Girl Gone, we tell the story of Dr. Cherryl Pearson, a 37-year-old woman who disappeared from Bartlett, Tennessee on January 5th, 2002. The night Cherryl was last seen, she attended a Memphis Grizzlies game. Afterward, a couple of Cheryl's friends came by her house to hang out for a little while. Cheryl's friends last saw her around 1 a.m. The next day, Cherryl was supposed to babysit for her sister. But when her sister arrived at her house, Cherryl wasn't home. No one ever saw or heard from Cherryl again. What happened to Cherryl? And who is responsible for her disappearance? This is Cheryl's story. Before we get into this week's episode, I wanted to make sure I updated you all about what we have learned in the past week regarding what happened to Audriana Barnes and who is responsible. As many of you already know, the body of 19-year-old Audriana Barnes was found on a balcony of an apartment in Cleveland, Ohio. Audriana had been missing since July 2021. We now know that the apartment belonged to Audriana's boyfriend, 39-year-old Benny Washington. Police say that Washington shot Audriana in the head and then put her body on the balcony in an attempt to hide the smell of decomposition. Police believe that Audriana had been dead since she disappeared. Benny Washington has been arrested and charged with murder and abuse of a corpse. After learning that Audriana was found at the last place that she was known to have been seen, I couldn't help but feel angry for her family. Police may not have been able to prevent what happened to Audriana, but they could have saved her family from 8 months of anguish searching for her when she was there the whole time. What Audriana's family has had to endure these past 8 months is the direct result of police dismissing these women when their families report them missing. It's hard to understand why the police never searched her boyfriend's apartment, but it's easy to see why so many cases of missing Black women don't get solved. If Benny Washington had not been evicted from that apartment and left the body on the balcony, Audriana's family would still be searching for her. The police didn't discover Benny Washington murdered Audriana during their investigation into what happened to her. They found her body after a cleaning crew claimed to clean up the apartment. And for the media that ignored the fact that Audriana was missing, but then reported about the gruesome way that she was found, shame on you. Somehow, now you found her story when she was found dead on a balcony. But when her mother was begging for attention and answers, there were crickets. Where were you all 8 months ago? How are you reporting on the death of a missing person you never once talked about? My heart is broken for Audriana's family, for what they have had to go through, and for the lack of attention that the police gave to Audriana. But I am happy that Benny Washington will be held accountable for what happened to Audriana. May Audriana Barnes rest in peace. For the family and friends of Cherryl Pearson, the past 20 years has been extremely hard. When Cheryl went missing in 2002, she had no reason to leave her life that she had worked so hard to build. But with very few clues left behind, her family has been left with no answers. In 2009, Cheryl was legally declared dead, but with no body ever found, the search for answers continues. Cherryl Pearson was born on August 21st, 1964, and was the youngest of three children born to Hazel and Leon Pearson. Cheryl, growing up, was a very focused young woman who took school very seriously, and she did well academically. Cheryl attended Jackson Central Mary High School in Jackson, Tennessee, where she graduated in 1982. For a student like Cheryl, college was the obvious choice for her. So after high school, Cheryl attended University of Tennessee, where she majored in chemical engineering. In an interview with Dateline in 2006, her parents said that Cheryl was a high achiever. And so while most people would stop with a degree in chemical engineering, Cheryl had other plans. After she completed her undergrad at University of Tennessee, Cheryl decided to enroll in medical school at Meharry Medical College, where she studied to become a pediatrician. In the late 1990s, Cheryl moved to Memphis. According to those close to Cheryl, she was a very independent woman and was enjoying the career that she had chosen as a pediatrician. And Cheryl, being the kind of woman that she was, it didn't take her long to become a well respected pediatrician in the Memphis area. Friends of Cheryl said that she was a very friendly person who was not only well respected, but also well liked. No one who knew Cheryl was aware of any issues or any enemies in Cheryl's life. In 2002, Cheryl was living alone in Bartlett, Tennessee, enjoying the successful life that she had built for herself. Cheryl was a huge fan of the Memphis Grizzlies, and so she would attend games all the time because she was a season ticket holder. Cheryl, being an independent woman, had no problem going to the games alone either. Now, there's not much information about Cheryl's personal life, and only a brief mention about a boyfriend in some reporting. But it seems like Cheryl was very happy and satisfied with where she was at her life at that point. On Friday, January 4th, 2002, the Memphis Grizzlies were scheduled to play the Atlanta Hawks, and so Cheryl made plans to attend the game. The game was being played at the Pyramid in Memphis, which was the temporary home of the Memphis Grizzlies between 2001 and 2004. The Pyramid now is apparently a Bass Pro Shop, but in the early 2000s, it was a sports arena that held basketball games and boxing matches. And Cheryl went to the game that night alone, and according to her parents, she called them from the game and they spoke briefly. Cheryl was a severe diabetic, and her mother Hazel said that she had mentioned to her that she was feeling a little lightheaded and kind of weak. However, she must have begun to feel better and decided to just stay for the game. The Grizzlies ended up losing the game to the Hawks, and Cheryl, a diehard fan, was disappointed that her team had lost. After the game, Cheryl left and headed home, and according to reports, arrived back at her house in Bartlett around 10:30 p.m. Not long after Cheryl got home, two of her girlfriends came over to hang out for a few hours. According to Cheryl's friends, by the time they saw her later that evening, everything appeared to be fine. Whatever she had been experiencing related to her diabetes had seemed to have passed by the time Cheryl's friends saw her. Now, her friends said that they stayed and talked with Cheryl for a few hours. When interviewed by Dateline, Cheryl's friend Andrea, one of the women at the home that night, said that Cheryl didn't say anything about anyone coming over or anything about her going anywhere. In fact, the ladies left Cheryl's home around 1 a.m. because she said that she needed to get into bed and get some rest because her sister was bringing her kids over early in the morning so that Cheryl could babysit. Cheryl was a doting aunt, and she was planning to watch the kids so that her sister could go to work. Now, watching her nieces and nephews was something that Cheryl did often. She loved them, and she loved spending time with them. She had always been someone that her sister could rely on. Cheryl's two friends left her home that night, having no idea that it would be the last time that they would see Cheryl. The next morning, January 5th, Cheryl's sister Lorinda arrived at her house around 7 a.m. to drop the kids off. According to reports, Lorinda knocked on Cheryl's door, but she got no answer. Lorinda was surprised when she knocked several times and her sister didn't answer the door because, like I said, Cheryl was someone her sister could always rely on. And so there was no way that she would have forgotten about watching the kids. Now, after a few knocks and no answer, Lorinda realized that her sister's car was not there. Lorinda immediately became worried. Her first thought was perhaps Cheryl's diabetes had caused her to maybe become disoriented and maybe she had gotten into an accident coming back home from somewhere. Lorinda decided that the best thing to do would be to call the police and to report her sister missing. Now, usually in these cases, police take their time before they will investigate, even after they take the report. But in Cheryl's case, police immediately believed that something may have been wrong. The fact that Cheryl was a severe diabetic worried them. And so, based on what they learned from her family, they believed that it may have something to do with her missing. They also knew Cheryl's reputation in the community. And so, nothing about her life indicated to them that she would have just left. When Lorinda called her parents to tell them that Cheryl was missing, Hazel and Leon immediately got in their car and drove to Memphis to look for their daughter. Hazel, replaying the last conversation that she had with Cheryl, was concerned that her daughter had an accident related to her diabetes, and both of her parents were worried sick that something had happened to Cheryl because of it. Now, Cheryl's parents had a spare key to her home, and so when they arrived, they were able to access the house. According to reports, when Hazel and Leon entered the house, nothing seemed to be out of place. There was no signs that a struggle or anything had happened there. However, after looking around a little bit more, Cheryl's parents found her cell phone and her pager on the dining room table. Now, Cheryl was on call that weekend for work, and so finding her cell phone and her pager in the home meant either Cheryl had not left on her own, or wherever she had planned to go, she wasn't planning to be there long. And as if finding her cell phone and pager in the house wasn't alarming enough, Hazel and Leon also found Cheryl's medicine inside her home too. Now, at this point, it was pretty clear that wherever Cheryl had gone, she had not intended to be there for a very long period of time. By the time Cheryl's parents had arrived in Memphis, it had been hours since anyone had seen or spoken to Cheryl, and everyone who knew her was worried. Everyone who knew Cheryl knew that what was happening was completely out of character, and so no one ever thought, even for a second, that Cheryl was missing voluntarily. When the people Cheryl worked with found out that she was missing, they immediately began to search for her too. They printed up flyers, and within a day, they were passing them out all over the area. Now, Cheryl's car was also missing. She drove a blue Audi, and so they were trying to locate her vehicle also. Cheryl's disappearance was a mystery at that point, and no one had any idea where Cheryl could have been and where she was. But their hope was that she would be found soon. Like, maybe this was just all a misunderstanding and Cheryl was fine. But everyone who knew Cheryl felt in their gut that it was not a misunderstanding. There were too many things wrong about what was happening. Cheryl not only wasn't home to watch her sister's kids, she left her phone and pager at home when she was on call, and she left her medicine that she would have needed if she was planning to go somewhere. Cheryl's family, friends, and coworkers spent the weekend searching for Cheryl, but no one had seen Cheryl or her blue Audi. As part of their investigation, detectives were able to access Cheryl's phone records, and they discovered that she had received a call at 1:58 a.m. the morning of July 5th, a little while after her girlfriends had left. The call had been placed from a payphone at a Citgo gas station not far from where Cheryl lived. Now, there was no way for detectives to know what was said on the call, but they suspected it had something to do with whatever happened to Cheryl. Was Cheryl lured from her home, or was she kidnapped? Both questions police would have a very hard time answering. I have to tell you about an amazing new service I've found called FrameBridge. FrameBridge makes it super easy and affordable to frame your favorite things, from art prints and posters to the travel photos sitting on your phone. With Mother's Day around the corner, FrameBridge also makes the perfect gift. In fact, select gifts ship next day. Here's how it works. Just go to framebridge.com and upload your photo, or they'll send you packaging to safely mail in your physical pieces. Preview your item online in dozens of frame styles and gallery wall layouts. Choose your favorite or get free recommendations from their talented designers. The experts at FrameBridge will custom frame your item and deliver your finished piece directly to your door, ready to hang. Instead of the hundreds you pay at a framing store, their prices start at just $39, and all shipping is free. Plus, my listeners will get 15% off their first order at framebridge.com when they use my code GIRLGONE. Order online at framebridge.com or stop by a FrameBridge store to work with a designer in person if you're in New York, DC, Atlanta, Philly, Boston, or Chicago. I chose to frame a really cute picture of my kids that we took last fall at the pumpkin patch, and I have a ton more pictures. I'm so excited that I found FrameBridge, and I can't wait to frame more pictures. Get started today and frame your photos or send someone the perfect gift. Go to framebridge.com and use promo code GIRLGONE to save an additional 15% off your first order. Just go to framebridge.com and use promo code GIRLGONE. Framebridge.com, promo code GIRLGONE.
It's time to play big on Moto Social Casino.
January 5th, 2002. 37-year-old Cherryl Pearson, a pediatrician living in Bartlett, Tennessee, disappeared. The night before, Cherryl, a season ticket holder, attended a Memphis Grizzlies game before heading home to hang out with a couple of friends. But when Cheryl's sister arrived the next morning to drop off her kids, Cherryl was nowhere to be found. And after a quick search, happy to have found the car because they hoped it would give them clues to help them find Cherryl, but they were also alarmed that the car was found so close to where Cherryl lived. In a 2016 interview with ABC 24, a detective on the case said that prior to finding the car, that the entire area, including the woods near the home, had been searched and no one had seen the car. And that led them to believe that the car had been placed there shortly before being found. Now, after discovering the vehicle, investigators spoke to the neighbors in the apartment complex, but none of them could recall anyone dropping the car off, and none of them knew how long the car had been there. When detectives searched the Audi, what was inside only added to the mystery. Inside the car were the Grizzly tickets from that Friday night game. And in the trunk of the car, they found a medical bag that they believed that Cheryl had been carrying as a purse. And inside the bag, they found the keys to the car and a bank envelope with $140 in cash inside. But there was no evidence inside the car aside from Cheryl's personal belongings. Whoever had driven the car to the apartment complex had also wiped the car clean because there was no forensic evidence inside, not even a fingerprint. It was clear that whoever had put Cheryl's car there was trying to hide something, and it led investigators to believe that they may now be dealing with a case involving foul play. Now, after locating the car, investigators began to speak to people who knew Cheryl so they could try to get a better sense of what was going on in her life. But they learned pretty quickly that Cheryl was living a normal life, and no one close to her knew of any issues in her life. Her colleagues who spoke to investigators said that Cheryl was happy at work and she was loved by her patients. As far as investigators could tell, Cheryl had no known enemies, and nothing in her life gave them any motive or reason why someone like her would just disappear without a trace. As detectives continued to look into Cheryl's life and circle, they began to become somewhat suspicious of her sister Lorenda's husband, Chuck. Now, apparently, Chuck had a checkered past that involved armed robbery, And since he was the only one close to Cheryl with a criminal past, investigators decided that they would look further into Chuck and what he may have been doing in connection to Cheryl or her disappearance. Investigators had also found out that Lorinda, Cheryl's sister, was the beneficiary of her $150,000 life insurance policy. And so investigators wanted to find out if Chuck knew about the policy and then did something to Cheryl so that he could benefit from the money that his wife would get if her sister died. Detectives did name Chuck a person of interest in Cheryl's disappearance. They had no direct evidence of his involvement, but they found some of the things that he said suspicious. Chuck was interrogated several times, but his alibi checked out. According to investigators and reporting by ABC 24, there were places where Chuck was inconsistent in his statements, but he ultimately had an alibi for the time that Cheryl disappeared. And eventually, Chuck was cleared as a person of interest, and no charges related to Cheryl's disappearance were ever filed against him. Lorinda was never suspected by police of having anything to do with her sister's disappearance. And Cheryl's parents didn't believe that Chuck was involved. They told Dateline that they believed that suspecting him was unfair. However, who was involved remained a mystery. Investigators were never able to identify who the call came from the night that Cheryl was last seen. If there was any kind of surveillance footage from the gas station, it's not clear if detectives were ever able to get anything from it, nor is it clear if they ever questioned people at the gas station that night about someone, using the phone or if they saw anybody. Now, as it would turn out, finding Cheryl's car would be the last thing that investigators would find in connection to her disappearance. Well, anything that they would release publicly anyway. Over the next few years, Cheryl's family continued to look for her, but very few clues came in about Cheryl. Investigators received no information about where Cheryl could possibly be or who was responsible for what had happened to her. In the years following Cheryl's disappearance, the story of what happened to her faded from the local headlines. And after a few years, her case officially went cold. Despite what looked like promising information in the very beginning, the case was going cold quickly, and investigators had found no new information about Cheryl since the car was found. And Cheryl's family began to grapple with the idea that Cheryl may never come home. Now, no family ever wants to give up finding a loved one, but there are often times when families come to the realization that the person missing may not come back. And so they have to decide how they will move forward. For Cheryl's family, they made the decision to have her legally declared dead. Her father, Leon, told Dateline in 2006 when asked if he thought his daughter was still alive. He said that he didn't think so. Cheryl's parents put up $41,000 of their own money to establish a reward. Their hope was that someone would be motivated by the money, but no one ever came forward with any credible information. In 2009, 7 years after Cheryl was last seen, her family had her legally declared dead. Doing so would allow them to tie up Cheryl's affairs, but it was in no way closure for them or a full acceptance of what had happened to Cheryl. The same year that Cheryl was declared legally dead, her father Leon passed away. Leon never got the answers about what happened to his daughter. He left this world with so many questions still unanswered. In 2013, investigators told ABC 24 that they received a tip from someone who was currently incarcerated and that they had indicated that they had information that a woman in Georgia had information about Cheryl's disappearance. But after police looked into what the prisoner said, they found themselves at yet another dead end. The last article I could find about Cheryl was from 2016, and since then, there seems to be no new information about Cheryl or if her case is still being investigated. But I do know that the people who love Cheryl deserve the closure of knowing what happened to her. Despite being legally declared dead in 2009, Cheryl's remains have never been found. And so no one knows exactly what happened to her. Dr. Cherryl Pearson was a 37-year-old successful pediatrician when she vanished in January 2002. Cheryl had no reason to leave her life, but there was also no one in her life that would have wanted to hurt her. The disappearance of Cherryl Pearson 20 years after she was last seen is still a mystery. The detectives working on the case say that they believe someone in the community knows what happened to Cheryl. And until someone comes forward, there will continue to be more questions than answers. It seems as if the people that were close to Cheryl have stopped speaking out about her case publicly. It was probably just too much, and after years of fighting for answers, they just simply wanted to find some peace. But I know finding out exactly what happened to Cheryl will always be something that they want. Cherryl Pearson would be 57 years old now. And until Cheryl is found, she will remain a missing person who deserves for people to care about her. Cherryl Pearson was last seen at her home in Bartlett, Tennessee on January 5th, 2002 at 1 a.m. She drove a blue Audi that was found in the parking lot of an apartment building on Ingle Central Road in Bartlett. Cheryl is 5'7" and at the time of her disappearance weighed 160 pounds. If you have any information about what happened to Cherryl Pearson the day she vanished, or any information that would lead to her whereabouts, please contact the Bartlett, Tennessee Police Department.
So let me start this off and say this.
Okay.
Somebody close to Cheryl Pearson did this, okay? I've heard this story 1,000 times. I watched it. As you just heard Black Girl going like one of the best people to like to narrate, like and tell a story.
Yeah.
She got into it, whatever. But I really think somebody close to Dr. Cheryl Pearson, you know, did something to her because um number one, to get a call at 1 a.m., right? And you leave your cell phone and all that home.
Yeah, you think it's an emergency. You gotta get there
Yeah,
fast.
so basically, she's probably thinking that she's going to pick somebody up. So she leaves all that there. But then something happens, but the way that it happened, it was like a clean getaway, like nobody saw something. But I'm just surprised that, they haven't really released anything. But usually when they don't release anything, it's because it's like an airtight case, like they really want to find out what happened to her. But I don't know that and then the $150,000 life insurance
Uh-huh.
that raises a lot of red flags too. I don't know their family personally, so I would never say hey I think their family did something
Right.
but you
Yeah,
just don't know. But in
it's
these
hard to
type of
say.
cases, everybody's a suspect though.
Yeah, and you would think that if it would have been like some kind of burglary, they wouldn't have left that money in that envelope. There's just no way.
No,
They
this is
wouldn't have left.
personal.
Yep, I believe that too. And I think that call lured her out. But who actually got the life insurance policy?
Yeah. That call definitely lured her out. That and it's unfortunate, because her sister kid, they really loved Cheryl. So like I said, she heard like they always use she always watched her sister's kids. That was somebody that she can lean on.
Yeah, she would have never left them hanging for sure.
Yes.
That is so sad. And she had such a future ahead of her. I mean, a pediatrician, she worked so hard to get there just to be lured
Yes.
out over money. Because in my opinion, that's what this is. I think this is
Yes.
more about that money more than anything. And that is so sad.
Yeah, and I think another thing too, going back to what you just said, to being lured out, like again, the cell phone, the keys, like all a lot of stuff. It just don't make no sense. A lot of stuff is left behind.
And no fingerprints. So they knew enough
Yes.
about it to they could just wipe the car. Wow.
Yes. Wipe the car. So what was this? And,
Right.
honestly, if I was the police, and I'm pretty sure they are, I would I would tap into everybody that's close to her. Keep
Mhm.
tabs on them, and maybe somebody will slip up.
Right.
Cause I don't know
Yeah.
about this sister's husband either. I don't know too much about him.
Yeah, and that's not enough money that's gonna last forever. Eventually, they're gonna slip up and say something to someone, you would think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it could go so many different ways too. But
I
see,
have to think,
also,
where would she be, though? I mean, there's no sightings, they haven't found her body. I mean, it has to be someone in that knows that area, you would think.
and hold on. Okay, so from what they're saying, okay, because I've heard a couple different stories. So I heard that she went out with friends that night. She was,
Oh,
she was. They said, yeah, and this one right here, they didn't say that. So it's a couple different errors, yeah. Because I heard that she went out with a couple. Now I heard that she did used to go to games by herself, but they said in this particular night that she went to the game with some of her friends.
mm. Well, that makes you wonder, maybe I hate to say it, but I mean, a friend could lure you out easily with, "Hey, I'm down here, I'm scared, could you come pick me
And
up right now? I'm in a
and,
rush, I'm not caring about my purse, I'm just
and
going."
then she had two friends over before she. It just, I don't know, it just seems kind of strange. Like, okay, she had two friends over. They leave a little bit after they leave. She gets a phone call. It just, I don't know, just the whole thing just seems weird.
Hmm. Well, then it makes me wonder then, if she had friends over and they had left and then she gets the phone call, maybe one of her friends was actually in trouble and called her and then they both got in that trouble.
Yeah, it's so many endless possibilities when it comes to this case. It just
Right,
makes you
right.
wonder.
It's so unfortunate. I mean,
I mean,
she's so
I mean,
young.
I come across a lot of cases, and this is one of them cases where you be like, you just be like, wow. Yes. Oh yeah, and Mind the Monsters. Yes, I've heard a lot about Tennessee, Oklahoma. Yes, those
Um,
cases. But um,
Mom, Kimber was saying that that's Nashville.
Nashville. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, but I do think do I think this case will be solved? Yes, one day. Yes, I do. Like you said, somebody's gonna slip up. I think somebody will slip up in this case.
Right, right. It's
I hope
been
they
so
do.
long.
I hope
So
they do because
there's no real
I'm sorry.
direction to even search. I mean, you just don't even know which way to go.
Exactly. And from what I've seen from a lot of like when I posted her story on missing, um, a lot of people commented and they were like, Cheryl was like that was that pediatrician. They said she was just like, you didn't hear anybody say anything bad about this lady. She like I said, she was easygoing. She was soft spoken. She was,
Yeah, and pediatrician, that's a hard job. So you have to be
yes,
dedicated to a job like that for sure.
you definitely do. Definitely got to be dedicated to that type of job.
How long had she been missing before they had declared her dead?
7 years.
Wow, okay. Hmm.
Now, I will say this, and I'm not saying this, again against them, is that um I never heard any family um declaring their loved one dead so soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless there is a life insurance policy. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's anything to do with that, but that is a very big life insurance policy. And we see it so often, it's kind of hard to not go that direction, even though
Hmm.
there's a good possibility it's not.
Yeah, like I said again, you try not to, but again, in these cases, you have to you have to think about every possible thing. You just never
Right,
know
and
because
money is a huge deal in most crimes. So, I
it
mean,
is.
that's automatically where your mind turns to first.
But I also would like to know if she was talking to anybody or anybody that she had recently stopped talking to, like her personal life, I think is also the key too.
Do you think maybe she
So
may have had a boyfriend or maybe she was seeing?
honestly, it could be. I'm thinking it could be an ex.
Could be.
It could
It
be. That's another possibility. I never thought. I thought. I didn't. I thought in the beginning. I didn't think about that.
it could be someone she met at the game. I
Yeah.
mean, you just never know. Hey, Willie, thank you for joining us. Yeah, that's really unfortunate that, after 7 years, they declare her dead. And then, of course, this $150,000 policy, which we're not for sure who that actually went to, on top of,
Well,
did they ever plead like to the media for her or talk to her through the media? Thank you, Willie.
I think that the parents talked to the media one time, and I think in the beginning her brother spoke out, I believe, but after that nobody has really spoken out. Well, you got to think about something else too. The only way they were going to get that $150,000 if Cheryl was declared dead, because the longer she's missing, they don't get anything.
Right, right. Hmm.
Yeah, so they couldn't. So it could have been 20 years, and they not got anything. But I guess they figure they somebody knew she wasn't coming back. I'm gonna tell you like that. Somebody knew she wasn't coming back, and
Right.
then it
Well,
goes from there. But
to play devil's advocate, it very well could be a disgruntled patient too, like a parent of a child that maybe something went south with, because you never know when it comes to like pediatricians or someone like that, because a lot of people will really lose their mind, if something happens to their child. So we also have to think that route rationally.
yeah, he do, and I'm really feel bad for Cheryl's dad for the fact that he never found out what happened to his daughter.
Absolutely. And that, yeah, to have to pass away not knowing. That's so hard. That's ugh.
Yeah, to not knowing in life, and then because the not knowing is the biggest thing in missing and
Well,
like
yeah,
missing and murder,
of
not knowing
course.
who did it or not knowing where they are.
Or if they're okay, if they're cold, or are they hungry, are they scared,
Yeah,
are they near
where
you?
they
Because
at?
you don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
like they could be next door. You're just not sure.
yes. But
Kimber,
I was just telling somebody something about that not to talk about something about the human remains. We're going to see a lot of human remains start to pop up.
yeah, well, it's mushroom season. It's hunting season's coming up, and I hate to
Not
say
only
that,
that,
you know.
but they're starting to do construction on different type of buildings. So, but yeah,
Oh,
yeah, so people will be found, and I'm starting to see a lot. I've been seeing a lot. Like I've seen a lot before, but I'm starting to see a whole bunch in different
mm.
cities and different states. Human remains are starting to turn up.
Kimber says there's a state park out that way too.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yep.
And it's
Mm.
crazy because it's probably somebody local.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
to know
got
to
to
park
be.
her car.
It's got to be because, and then another thing too. If I was them, I'm pretty sure they probably did. They probably checked the measurements of the car. If the person, because Cheryl was what 5, what Cheryl wasn't too. Cheryl
She
wasn't
wasn't
too
too tall.
tall. Yeah, so
Right.
I wonder how her car was parked. So
Yeah, I wonder if the seat
it's
was moved or the steering wheel.
it's so many questions and not
Right.
enough answers in this case.
Mm. So have they just closed the case, or are they calling it a
No,
cold case, or
it's a cold case and the case is still open.
okay.
It's Black Girl said, Black Girl Gone said, it's not hasn't really been no movement in the case, and nobody from the family speaks out anymore. I mean,
Mm.
but something though is nobody speaks out. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, you would think someone still is gonna hang on, like an advocate to hang on to that and keep
Yeah,
on.
well, I'm also honestly tell you, and this is no lie. I've talked
Mhm.
to a lot of families, and some of them just don't want to go through
To
the
relive it. The
the re-
reliving it's
the
hard.
reason. But that happened. Then you have some like Crescendra Hall's mom. That's going. She keeping her faith, and she won't give up. And she never had her daughter declared dead either. No, she's just still missing. Like
Yeah,
she
that's
refuses.
another strong mama, that's for sure. Yeah, she's very strong too.
Yeah, she's a very strong woman. But like the police have publicly said, it's gonna take a tip for this case to even get solved.
Right, or
Because
like
it definitely
or
is cold. This is a cold case. The
yeah.
case of Dr. Cherryl Pearson is cold. Is
Yeah, definitely. That's terrible. And it's odd that you were saying about like abandoned buildings and stuff, because we still haven't figured out who that was in that house in Indiana that bothers me so bad. They still haven't identified that body yet, and I wonder because there's so many missing in
It
Gary,
is.
Indiana. There's so many. It could be so many.
It is. It is. It's no. It's so many missing. All over. It's so many missing. I'm serious. Like it's
Yeah.
every time you turn around. Like sometimes, honestly, it's hard to keep up with the missing
Yeah,
because
Willie,
there's
I
so
agree.
many.
Willie says as humans we need closure, and he's right. I mean, we do. Whether that closure be and in some families, maybe they just can't. They after they declared her passed, then maybe they were like, okay, we've got to learn to let this go for our own peace. And I
Honestly,
understand.
to tell you the truth, in these missing and murder cases, there honestly is no such thing as closure. Only reason why I say that is because a person could be missing for so long, right? And then like years later, their remains have been found. But then you got to the point now where, well, how did they get here and how were they murdered?
Yeah,
Some cases are solved through DNA where they have found the murderer, but then some aren't. And then I think also too, some people they don't move on, but I think they, you know, how you say that word? I mean,
I think maybe they just feel like if they're just letting it go until she's found, I think it would just be a constant misery of constant thinking and worry and all of
mhm.
that for this many years. It would be enough. I mean, to drive anyone insane. I
But I
couldn't
gotta
imagine.
tell you, I take my hats off to these moms that are that are fighting for years for their
Yes.
for their loved
Or
ones
even
and
daughters. Daughters, that
yes,
one daughter you had that she's still fighting and she's set on figuring this out, and you have to respect that. I mean, my goodness.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. We're gonna do shit Pamela Buckner soon. She's been missing for some years too.
Okay. We can do it
Yeah,
next week if you want to.
yeah, yeah. We can talk about that. Now, I think you know what we had another one before that. Who did we say we were gonna do?
I'd have to look, but I have a whole list. We've talked about a whole list. We'll have
Okay,
to choose which
yes,
one.
we do have a whole list.
But it is very important to get these cases out because you just don't know who may have information, who may pop in, who may run across the video and think, wait a minute, I
Mhm.
saw her that night, or, or I saw that car, or I saw a man talking to someone in a car. It's that one little tip that can solve the whole thing.
Yes,
Really.
yes. Like right now, I have a case up called the case of Bianca LeBron.
Hmm.
That's a crazy case. Now, she was 10 years old when she was missing from Bridgeport, Connecticut, years ago.
Oh, no.
So it's been about 20, it might be 24 or more years than now. But the person who they were saying that they thought was a suspect, they never tied it to him. But it was other stuff. But we're gonna that matter of fact that'll be one we discuss
Okay. Okay.
later on. But this going back to this Cherryl Pearson case,
Hmm.
this is one of the craziest cases I've ever come across,
It's the
especially like
car.
this.
The car's throwing me off because the car was wiped. If not even her prints were in that car, that's immediate foul play. No
No,
matter what.
but here's the thing of it is though. The thing, this is gonna be the number one thing. This is the number one thing that baffles me. If that car was not there when they searched that, why weren't they on alert? Okay, and somebody was able to park that car back. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's true.
That does
But
not
I
make
mean,
sense.
why would they think? Yeah, but why would they think that they would park that back there though?
Yes, yes.
So I mean, they really couldn't be on high alert because they would never even imagine that the person would bring the car back. I mean,
But you bring. Okay, she's missing. Okay,
mhm,
she's missing for this time, whatever,
mhm.
and nobody's on alert. Listen, that's
Yeah,
my
I would
neighborhood.
definitely be alert if somebody
Listen,
in my
that's my
neighborhood.
neighborhood.
Yeah,
I tell you, my neighborhood. Everybody, listen, they be knocking on doors. Like, listen, hey, we got this going on.
right.
Everybody's gonna be on alert and tell something going on, especially if she's missing. So that's
Yeah, that's
another key. How were they able to drop that car back off without being seen or anything? Somebody saw something, unless they did it early. Unless they did it early in the morning. But I'm gonna tell you like this too. It's more than one person.
you think so?
Oh yes, yeah. There's more than one person.
Mm.
There's more than one person. And again, it could be tied to that insurance money, like the police thought. They just don't have any evidence. But it was this. This is more than one person.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. There almost has to be because someone had after they dropped that car off, they had to go somewhere.
Yeah,
Somebody had to give them a ride, or someone would have seen someone walking from the car, surely.
exactly. So it's more than one person in this
Mhm.
case.
Well, that makes me go back to whoever those friends were she might have been hanging out with. I mean,
one of them did do an interview with Dateline, like the black girl said. So I don't know about the other one, but I mean, it's like I said, at this point it could be anybody, but
yeah, and
it's
it's such a
some,
circle.
but
It's just
it's
somebody
not nobody random. This is somebody that knew Cheryl.
yeah, to call
This
her
is
knew her
somebody.
personal number.
Yes, they got her out the house one something and for her to leave her cell phone. It had man, yeah. I could
Yeah,
go
no.
on and on and on about this case. You hear me, y'all? I could probably talk to you for the next 3 hours, and I would tell y'all that it's just I don't know. I really should have gotten to like early on. I should have gotten to cold cases and law enforcement and all that. I'm telling you, a lot of these cases I would have
Mhm.
solved. Okay, I'm telling you.
Well, good, good. Well, why are you not now? What's stopping you?
Who me? Honestly, right now, and nothing's really stopping me doing that. So I do have kids and
Yeah.
I work a regular job and all that now. So
Uh-huh.
it's like getting I'll tell you like this. I'm working my way up there. You feel me?
Good.
So
Good for you.
yeah,
I hope you get there. Keep that
yeah,
strong mind and you will get there for sure. Definitely.
yeah. I mean I don't know. I just want to be a part of I want to be a part of solving the cases, finding the missing. Looking for them out in the fields, doing the searches, a little bit of
You would
everything.
probably be a good PI.
Oh Lord, danger, danger.
Oh Lord, you crazy lady.
Danger, danger.
Well, I mean, think about it. As much as
No,
you're into
honestly,
this stuff and you're
it's
part
it's 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 kind of funny that you said that because my cousin was just inquiring with me about that, and I'm like, yo,
oh
are you serious? He was, he was.
no. Well, listen,
She
if
did
that's
okay.
what
She did okay. She didn't live in Nashville. She went to school at Mahari. Okay, okay.
she lived
I'm
in
looking.
Well, how far is that, Kimber, from Nashville? Lots of cases from Tennessee. Lots.
Yeah. That's lots.
Yep. Well, Missouri too. I mean, but Missouri, I'm not surprised because our justice system's like, oh, slap you on the wrist, let you out. Let's do it again. It's crazy. She said it's probably 2 hours, maybe.
I have another case too. I want everybody to please share. It's on
Okay.
my missing black people page. It's
Hmm.
Trinity Martin.
Okay.
Trinity Martin has been missing since 2023. She went missing when she was 13.
Oh.
Um, I was talking to the mom the other day. It was that conversation was like just, but I want everybody to share that and get
Okay.
her face out there.
Yeah.
She would be 15 now, but just imagine
Oh.
going at 13, missing at 13, and your parents don't know where you are.
Oh no, I'd be crazy. I'd be busting indoors. I would either be in jail or in a nut hut because there's no way. I just don't know what I would do.
Yes, her mother is. She just yesterday she just kind of
Yeah,
like
I
broke me
can
down a little
imagine.
bit. She kind
Oh,
of
it's
she
terrible.
she broke me down with the phone call because we talked first and it was just like wow.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
sad. It is like you can't
yeah,
let your child out of your sight for 2 seconds. And
yeah.
that's why I freak out at field trips. When they start
And
talking
listen, you
field
know what?
trips.
I'm gonna tell you something. I think honestly, since I've been doing this, I think I've been more aware than
Oh
anything.
yeah.
And honestly, it rubbed off on my kids because they don't play, they won't listen. They don't know you. They stop saying nothing to you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't,
I
yeah,
know.
no, they don't, yeah, and it's like, I don't know, I just feel like sometimes I feel like I might be a little bit too much sometimes, but then I'm like, it's what I do that keeps me on the edge sometimes, so,
Yes, mom, the
but,
nut hut for sure. Absolutely. If yeah, I would
yes,
absolutely be in there. Yeah, there's no way. I just mm-mm. And I don't think some people don't understand, and we're more aware of this because we cover these cases.
hmm
But in normal societies, I don't think they understand, especially this mentality of it doesn't happen in my town. Yeah, it does happen in your town. And when it does happen in your town, it's too late. It's too late.
And
That's
you're
what it's
right.
really
You're
hard.
right. It does, and
Mhm.
I honestly feel for the cases that are just now getting attention.
And
Cases
that's sad too. It's like
cases that have
all of this
been
media, and we're just now hearing about this. I mean, this is a pediatrician. It should have been everywhere.
exactly. It should have a lot of these cases. That's why that's why we have missing black people that forgotten. That's one of the reasons why the page was born. And we're going to be bringing a lot more of cases. And if you notice something about our page, I don't just post a case one time. I may post that
Yeah,
case several times out the year for
right.
people to keep that face out there.
Yeah, a
And
refresher, sure.
the audience always gets bigger, so you always want to introduce some of the old stuff to the new followers, so they know the case.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going through my missing list and I was putting the ones that were found unlisted. And then I was like, the more I go and look through here and realize that back to where when I first started, there's so many that are still missing from a year ago when I first started, going live. It'll
Yeah,
be a year. I think it'll be a year. May. Oh wow, it was a year the 13th actually. I'm like, well, wait a minute. So
hey,
I mean,
right?
it's hard because you go back to the beginning and think, wow, they're still missing, and then
Yes.
you get this doubt of, am I doing any good because all these people are still missing. So there's that too. Like we struggle with us creators will struggle with that because it's like, well, are we making the difference? I know our hearts are in it, but it just seems like sometimes you wonder, are you making a difference?
Honestly, I never felt that way because
Really?
I know because honestly, reason why is because to take the time and the effort to do these things, you got to forget we got our whole lives. We got our lives, we got our children, we got our
Right.
careers and stuff to do. But
Yeah,
we take the time out to do this because this is something that we do from the heart. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
this
And
this
it's so heartbreaking when you see it's like a closure that they found one, but then they find them deceased. And we feel that. We feel that grief because we get so emotionally attached to our families and their loved ones that's missing.
listen. I gotta admit this. That Lori Page story broke me because I was covering Lori Page story from the second time she went missing because she had went missing before,
Such
and
a
I
beautiful kid. So cute.
and I had a feeling. I said she's running from her dad, and they sent her back to live with her dad. And when she went missing that second time, I was like, man, he did something to her. I was right. I was right. And when they said they found her remains, I'm like, wow. And if you look at Lori Page and look at her dad, that's her twin.
Oh, see, that's like, is it Kamari? How do I know I was always say it wrong. That was terrible. I just couldn't
He's a piece of
I just
So
couldn't believe that though. I was like, "Oh man, come on. No, not the parents. No." I mm,
man, listen, I don't know where them parents come from because I don't know. I
yeah, I'm
think people
protective of mine.
I think and and I understand that some people go through mental things, but I want everybody to stop trying to use that as a clutch
Exactly.
because there are some people that are really going through mental health phases, and
Absolutely.
some people just try to use that as something. Okay, I know we all may need mental health days.
But that's not a defense. That's not a defense to hurt your child and do that. That's not a defense.
Exactly, I don't think it is either.
I mean, if somebody loses it and they go out and snap on a stranger, that I'm more apt to believe than your own child. That's no, you're not going to make me believe that. I mean, don't get me
Exactly.
wrong, there's some cuckoo there, but not enough that that's a defense that you need to be in the nut hut and not in the pokey because your ass goes to the pokey.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just put up, and then I was just thinking about another case. Lamika Manners. Her mother. Well, her mother was last seen in Brooklyn, New York, in 1985. So later on May 18th, 1985, they found a body inside a set of burning tires. They would find out in November
What?
2020.
Oh,
They would find out in November 2024 that it was Barbara Manners, but they never found her daughter Lamika. Amiga
Please
manners.
tell me they weren't alive in there. I mean,
No, she was dead.
okay. I mean, not that I wanted her to be gone, but you
But
know what I
her
mean. Oh,
but
it would be-
but her feet and her hands were missing.
oh, for heaven! What is the deal with that? When did that become this thing? Oh,
No, because they don't want them to be identified. That's why. And
oh,
this is
mm,
another case that this was somebody close to them, and it says that she was married, which we'll discuss it in another podcast. But yeah, we're gonna
yeah.
get into that too.
My,
Yeah,
see, that's terrible. This world is just gone to hell. It
it
really
is.
has.
It is.
You
It
can't
is.
even you can't even go into your convenience store without standing there noticing everybody in the room and who looks shady and who doesn't and sizing them up. That's not living. I can remember
Listen,
we didn't even lock our doors, you know?
listen. As soon as I go to the door, I scan. You know how the Terminator
I do
scans. That's what
too.
I do.
I do too.
I'm
Everywhere
so
I
good
take
at
my
that.
kid to if I take my kid to eat, I'm looking at the door. I'm focused at the door, because he's not getting out of my sights and nobody's getting to him. So I've got to have a back seat to look at everyone.
Yes.
It's crazy that we have to live a life like that. Really.
I know, but you know what? You know what the crazy thing is, though, is a lot of this stuff was happening back then. It's just that the internet exposed it. The internet is the good, the bad, the ugly, and and it'll also destroy you
Oh, definitely. Yep.
if you don't play it right. It definitely will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree. That's so sad though. My goodness. Well, okay. Chat, you guys have any questions for either of us about the case? We've got a whole conversation in here going on about Kimber's a witch. If we say Cash's name 3 times, I'm sure he will appear. I don't think we have any questions. Nope, I don't see any. All right, guys. Well, if you will, please share this out. It's very important to share this out. You never know. You never know who could see it, know something. Maybe they saw the car. Maybe they saw a person walking off. Maybe they saw the guy on the payphone or a female on the phone that called her. So, I mean, you just never know. So, if you would please share, we would appreciate it. And Klein, do you have anything?
yes, somebody out there in that neighborhood where Cheryl Pearson lived knows what happened to her. Somebody close to Cheryl Pearson knows what happened to her. There's no way. I don't think anybody else could have got her out of that house after 1 a.m. without them knowing her.
Yep.
Police, please go back and do your job. And I'm telling you, the clues are probably right in front of you. When this is all said and done, and then this does get solved, this will be somebody very close to her.
And
And
I really
this
do hope they do put fresh eyes on this because
yes.
I've noticed in so many cases, fresh eyes can solve cases.
Oh, don't worry. Listen, our platforms are kind of small now, but they're getting bigger. And these stories, we're going to tell them again. If we got to tell them 1,000 times before they're
Yep,
found, we're going to tell them.
that's right. Because they're worth it. These people's lives matter. Just because they're missing or declared dead doesn't mean that they didn't matter. And they still matter. Until this is solved, it's not over. All right, guys. Well, with that, I guess we're going to close this out. I'm not going to give you the whole life is short and blah, blah, blah. What I am going to say is people are going to come into your life either as lessons or assignments, and many people are going to come disguised as your friends. Protect your peace. Learn how to say no because you're worth it. I hope to see you guys next time. Have a wonderful night. Bye bye.
Have a good night, everybody. God bless and good night.
Good night.
Does anyone understand? Does anyone lend a hand? When the silence starts to bite, will you join me in this fight? Can you see them in your dreams? Can you hear their desperate screams? A heartbeat lost in the night. Oh, will you help me be their voice? In the darkness, let's rejoice. 'Cause together we can shine a light. We'll raise our hands, we'll raise our hearts. Let's make a stand, let's tear apart the chains that